Hey there, and welcome to my channel. My name is Crafty Kathy, and I'm so happy and thankful that you stopped in to craft and spend a little time with me today. I've compiled 10 of my most favorite Dollar Tree wood DIYs, and I hope you enjoy these. We're going to start off using 36 of the tumbling tower blocks, and it's always helpful to have one of these squares. I got mine at the Dollar Tree. Now, when you're putting these tumbling tower blocks together, you can either use the Dollar Tree wood glue. I've heard that it dries really fast, or you can use this fix-all adhesive, but I really wouldn't advise you to use the hot glue with these blocks. The reason is, when you put the hot glue inside the blocks and then it dries, it's like it leaves a glob that's too big and they don't fit back together properly the way that they should, and it distorts the look. So like I said, this project just takes 36 of the blocks, and I'm going to make a square here. I want you to just kind of watch how I make my square, because it's a little difficult to explain how I'm putting this together, but you can see on the screen what I do. I love doing these wood DIYs so much. I think you guys are going to love these. These are so simple that even a beginner will have no problem with these. I had a nerve block put in my shoulder just yesterday, so I kind of had to be careful and keep it light. Now, just notice whenever I put my glue down, you do have to leave it there for just a few moments. Let it get hard enough before you can even move it. And I always take a baby wipe and just kind of wipe off any of the goo that comes up in between where I just made my block. After I let it sit there for just a few minutes, it's okay to move it, and I'm going to make one more square exactly the same as the first. If you're visiting my channel for the first time, I want to welcome you. I am so glad and thankful that you stopped in to craft and just to chat and have a good time with us today. I would love if you would subscribe and become a part of our family. We always have room for more, and we always have a good time. And leave me a comment. Let me know which of these projects is your favorite. Even if you're not much for leaving comments, just leave me a heart emoji. Those things really help out my channel, and I greatly appreciate it. Now we're going to move on, and we are going to glue 5 of the blocks together end to end. I swapped over to my Type Bond Quick and Thick because I was having so much of an issue with that fix-all adhesive. It's just easier for me to use a wood glue because I like the way that it sticks together, and it's like it automatically just, I can't describe it. I guess it's the thickness of it kind of helps me to keep it together better. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to do 5 of these. And I could definitely tell such a difference when I started using my wood glue. It just seemed like the project went so much faster at this point. After I let these 5 sit there for just a minute, I scoot them up with my little square, and I'm going to do that again. I'm going to put 5 of them side to side and make another line just like I did. We are going to make a total of 4 of these ones that are the 5 pieces together. And since it's so repetitive, I'm not going to show you every single one that I do. I'm just going to show you when I get the sets finished. So once we get finished with the first part, this is exactly what we're going to have. We have used 28 blocks so far, and so we just have 8 more, and this project is as good as done. So the next thing we're going to do is grab one of our squares, and we are going to add 4 blocks to it, and just pay attention to how I'm putting my blocks here. I guess I would describe this as saying I'm making an extension of each of the sides. I'm not really sure. It's so hard to describe exactly what I'm doing in any way that would make sense, but you can see here what I'm doing. And this is exactly what it's going to look like once you have your 4 other little blocks added on. And once we get that finished, we are going to do the exact same thing to the other square that we've got. And now we are totally finished with all of our blocks and gluing everything. I'll let these set for roughly an hour so that it would set up really good before we move to the next step. Then I grabbed those 4 sets that we had made of 5 blocks, and we are going to glue these to the sides of our little squares. Now, we're not gluing these on top of the end of that square. We're actually gluing it like parallel with it. It's not going to be on top of that block. It's literally just like an extension of it. And I had already placed my sticks up just to see what this was going to look like before I did. I haven't glued them there yet. I just literally just had them standing there, as you can see, because the one just fell over. But you see, I just put my little bit of glue on the side and then place it on the end, not on top. Then, after I get all 4 of those side pieces placed on, I left it alone for approximately another hour so it would be sturdy enough to move on to the next step. The last step at putting this piece together is to flip our piece over, and then we're going to take our little square piece and we're simply going to put some glue on the sides and place it together where it comes together at the bottom. Then I gave mine roughly another hour just so that everything could set up and be really nice and secure. Our piece has been sitting and it's very nice and sturdy. It's not going anywhere. It's going to be a beautiful lantern piece. I'm going to use my Waverly antique wax. Now remember, my antique wax is probably about 25% of actual wax and the other 75% is water. I just prefer mine to be really watered down like that because I like a lighter look. I just like the way that that looks. It's just personal preference. But I'm simply going to go around, add this wax all over my piece, and then just kind of blend it in with a baby wipe. Depending on what method you use to glue yours together, you may not need to wait, say, an hour in between to make sure that it's really good and sturdy. And I probably went overboard with the time. I just didn't want to take any chances with a piece falling off and then me have to start all over again. I've watched people put things together with these blocks, and like if they use the Dollar Tree wood glue, they don't even stop at all. So I'm thinking that that's probably your best method of putting this on. However, I didn't have any, so I just had to make do with what I had, and that's why I use my Type Bond Quick and Thick. I went all around my piece, making sure every little nook and cranny was painted to my liking, and using my baby wipe as needed. And to style this, I'm just going to use one of these candle plates that comes from the Dollar Tree. I've used this in a previous DIY and I had spray painted it black. I'm just going to lay it in there. It fits perfectly, and I'm going to pop in my candle, and I hope you really like this one. The second DIY actually turns out to be my favorite. We're going to use this 8x8 plaque that I purchased, and I believe that I got this one at Dollar General. It's the Crafter's Closet brand, and I'm pretty sure that's Dollar General. So the first thing that I'm going to do is grab some of the jumbo popsicle sticks. These are the ones that you get from the Dollar Tree, and it's going to take 9 of those. Now, one of them I did have to slightly cut down so that they would all fit in here just perfectly. But what I'm going to do is just take my hot glue gun and place a little bit on the back of each one of these and lay these down. And it's just personal preference for me. If there's one that I do ever have to cut down, I usually stick it kind of about the third one as I go because it's not as noticeable. And by the time you're finished, you can't even tell that you had to cut that one down at all. The next thing that I'm going to do is grab my watered down Waverly Antique Wax, or you can use a darker color if you prefer. But this one is perfect for me, and I'm going to go ahead and paint the front of this and all of the sides, and then I just kind of used a baby wipe to wipe off the excess. I am going to use these gorgeous transfers that my friend Brandy creates. Her website is the DIY Struggle, and I'll leave it down below in case you want to go get some of these transfers. They're only around $8 and you get 2 sheets of them. They stick really good and I love them. My daughter was wanting something that she could just keep her jewelry in and hang her necklaces on, and that's what this is going to become. So what I did was just cut out the portions of the transfer that I want here. I wasn't going to be able to get that whole dove in there, so I just decided to cut him off. If you've never used a transfer before, they're super easy and they always make your projects gorgeous. You just cut off however much you need, and mine is going to be this whole larger piece, and you just lay it down wherever you want it on your project, and then you're simply just going to use the little tool that they send you to rub over the top of this. And my little hack is I like to kind of hold up the edge while I am going over it because it seems like it helps it to stick just that much better. I have found that if you just use your little tool that they send you and just kind of hold up the end of it, it's just so easy to come off there. And not to mention, transfers are just a gorgeous and easy way to add beauty to any DIY project. Look how beautiful. Where I didn't have anything added down at the bottom underneath where it says Choose Joy, it was driving me crazy. So I just added another little thing at the bottom, and then I kept looking and I was like, I want a dragonfly on there. So I added the dragonfly also. I picked up this knob at Hobby Lobby. Every time I go, I find knobs on clearance, and they're usually around 99 cents. They are so beautiful, and I pick up a lot of these because I like to make just little whatnot type projects. You never know when you're going to need one somewhere. So the easiest way to put this on, of course, is to use a drill bit and make a hole. I want one down at the bottom, just something that she can hang her favorite necklace on, and that's what we're going to do here. I'm usually an eyeball kind of gal, but I knew that this was 8 inches, so I just kind of measured out to where the 4 is so that I could be exactly in the middle. It's not very often when I want something to be exact, but every once in a while you might find me slipping up. So I realized that my drill bit wasn't big enough, and so I made the hole just a little bit bigger, and I just screwed that knob right in there. Now you can't get a project any easier than that. The last thing that I do is add my little hanger. I get these off of Amazon. They are really inexpensive, and you just have to bang them 1 or 2 times with either a small hammer, and I'm usually too lazy. I grab my cutters here and I bang them in, and voila. Even if you put this on crooked, your picture will hang perfectly. And if you need some of these, I put the link down below and in the comments. I hope you enjoy.
Places where you spend your time. Ain't no place I'd rather go here for.
Moving right along with the third DIY, I'm going to grab one of these bamboo cutting boards, And I didn't want to paint this. I actually like the color that it is, but I do want to put some more of these beautiful transfers from my friend Brandy. So what I'm going to do is take this large fern that's on the bottom and some of the polka dots, because I love polka dots and I have to keep those in there. And so I'm just going to cut out around the fern. I'm going to place it down. I did have to trim off just a little bitty piece of like the leaves of the fern. Then I'm just going to do like I did the first transfer. You just lay it down and use that special little tool. And remember, I told you I kind of like to hold up like the side of mine whenever I'm rubbing the transfer, because in my mind it just helps it to come off so much easier. And I went around this piece and just got my transfer positioned exactly where I wanted it. Then I'm going to grab one of the small pallets from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to pop one of the bottom pieces off. Put a little bit of hot glue on it, and I'm going to place that right down on the bottom. This is actually going to be like a little recipe stand. I'm old school, and I like to hold my recipes up. Then I'm going to take one of these small dry erase boards from the Dollar Tree. We're going to use this as a stand. I put the hot glue on it, and then I just kind of placed my bamboo cutting board up against it so that it would stand up nicely. And I said I didn't want to paint this, but I did use the leftover antique wax that was in my brush from earlier and just go over that bottom portion just so that it would all be cohesive and all be the same color. When I got to the point where I was happy with the color, I pulled out my IOD stamps. These are called apothecary labels. I love these. I have been labeling everything since I got these. I'm just going to use one of the little rounded pieces and like the little finger, it's like the little pointer finger, and I'm just going to place it down on that plastic backing that these come on. I'm going to use my black permanent ink, and I'm going to go ahead and put this piece down. You hold it still with one hand, and with the other fingers, you just kind of walk around the project. And then I'm simply going to spell out the word recipes. Of course, I needed the E, so I stopped after the P, and then I just placed that down and then went back and put the ES on the end. And you do that exact same thing. You hold it still with one hand while you are walking your fingers over it with the other hand. Now, if you want to try out any of these stamps from IOD, any of the products from IOD, or any of the high-end paints that you see me use, like the DIY paint, my friend Lori over at Milton's Daughter is amazing, and you would absolutely love her. I'll leave her info down below. Now, to finish this off, I'm just simply going to use my ink pad and go around it and just kind of, I go at an angle and I just kind of give it a little highlight. Such a simple gesture that makes a huge difference. And for the life of me, I couldn't find one of my recipe cards, so I just stuck my old nursing picture on there for your viewing pleasure.
I think she's a little crazy. We like summer and we like spring, watching wrestling in the ring. She ain't shy, she speaks her mind, tough as nails and smooth as wine. We burn hot as kerosene, baby, we got our own thing. She ain't skinny and I ain't tall, and that don't bother us at all. I run naked through the yard, she flash every police car, drinking wine and getting tired of shooting.
Going to need one of these wood pallets. Now, these, of course, like I said, are from the Dollar Tree. On the back, they just say wood pallet. And we're also going to use 2 of these wooden hoops. But keep in mind, you have options. It doesn't have to be these wooden hoops. You can use those metal type hoops from the Dollar Tree. There's several different types that you can use. The ones I have say wooden wreath base, and I did find them where all the metal wreath accessories are. So, let's get started. I'm going to use my gel stain by Dixie Belle. It's called Tobacco Road. Now, you can use any type of like the Waverly Antique Wax. whatever you want or whatever you have. Or you can even make up your own stain by just doing brown paint with a little bit of water. The reason why I chose to use this one is because I wanted a dark color, and this is probably the darkest stain that I do have. All I'm doing here is just applying it, and I'm using a paper towel just to kind of wipe off the excess. And I'm also going to go over my two hoops. Now you'll notice that they're already dark brown, but I just lightly went over them real quick just so that my items would match up. When I went on with this next step, my hoops weren't totally dry. They're made from that MDF, and so it takes them a little bit longer to dry. Now what you're going to do is place them side by side. You're going to stick a tie wrap or a zip tie, whichever you call it, through here, but don't pull it together tightly yet. Now what we're going to do is take our little wood palette and we're going to place this down on the bottom. And you need to see how far out those hoops need to go so that it will line up exactly with your little palette board. And when you see exactly how far that is, then you can tighten this up. Now, it's all personal preference, but you may want your little palette board to go upside down in this manner, which it looks okay, but I personally liked mine the other way. So when you find that perfect placement and you tighten up your hoops, you're going to move on to your next step, and that's going to be to grab your wood glue. And I'm just using the kind from Dollar Tree. I really do like this. I normally use the Type Bond Quick and Thick, but to me, this is just as good and it's a lot cheaper. So what we're going to do is just put like a little bit of glue on the four corners, and we're going to just lay that right on the top of our little hoops. Now on the wood palette where we added the glue, it will barely touch those hoops. There's not a lot of space there for it to touch because the way that it lays, but it will touch. Now, just to make sure that it's extra secure, I squirted just a little bit of hot glue under each of my corners, and it was literally like a tiny little dot of hot glue, but I found that it was sufficient enough to hold it. And as you're putting your glue on here and adding your hot glue, don't worry, this thing will kind of wobble off from where you had it, and you're like, this is not going to stick. But trust me, when that wood glue dries, it will stick and it will be plenty enough to hold it. The very last step that we're going to do is take some twine, any type that you have or whatever you prefer. I'm just using the Dollar Tree twine, and we're going to wrap it around the top. I start off by adding a little strip of glue, and then I just start wounding my twine. There's no certain way you have to do this. You can put as much or as little as you want. It's all personal preference. And I just used that little bit of glue when I started winding, and then when I was finished, I put another little strip of glue to hold it and then just cut off the excess. When I finished getting my twine around the top, I did take a lighter and burn off all the little stringies that come off of the jute twine. And I did take different video clips. One is hanging up on the porch of my craft studio, and the other one is inside on the tabletop. We're going to be using 2 of the pallet boards, and then we're also going to be using 2 of these little plant swings They're actually called wall shelf that comes from Dollar Tree. There is a bigger version, which this one's the bigger version, and a smaller version. We're going to take our little pallet board and we are going to flip it around. We're going to put the wood glue on this bottom portion, the little piece that goes horizontal, and I just rubbed mine in with my finger. I felt that it held it better. And we're simply going to take our little plant hanger shelf and we're going to set it right on top of that in the middle. Now it'll stay there while you grab your other pallet board and you're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to put the wood glue on that little bottom portion there that's going horizontal. You're going to rub that in and then you're going to stick this on the other side of your little plant hanger. And what we're doing is creating a little shelf. Now, I can't take credit for this. I saw something very similar from my buddy Brandy over at the DIY Struggle. I'm going to leave her channel down below and the video that she did this in. I think she used different boards, but I'm a plant girl. I have so many plants, and for the longest time, I've had these little hanging plant swings, or I guess that's what you would call them. And I've been wanting to do something with them besides just sticking the rope through it and hanging it up. And I thought, now this is a great way to utilize these, and it's really cheap and I can put my plants on it. So we do that at the bottom, and we're going to do that exact same thing at the top. I'm going to add my glue to the parts that goes horizontal. I'm going to rub it in, and then I'm just going to take that other shelf and set it down there. Now, I left mine alone overnight. I did not touch it. That way it would be really nice and dry. And I could not believe how sturdy this little sucker was the next morning. I actually filmed a little clip of the next morning to show you just how sturdy this thing is. Like, it's not going anywhere. I'm going to paint this the color called Bavarian by Folk Art Home Decor. Now, my paint has not been used in literally about 2 years. So it was really thick, and the way that you remedy that is just to add some water, stir it up real good, and shake it. I want my shelf to be distressed and look really rustic. I don't want an all-over perfect coat. And the way that I achieve this is by going kind of heavy in the middle, and as I get to the outer sections, I just kind of briefly brush over it. That way some of that beautiful natural wood kind of shines through, and it really just gives it that all over rustic look. And since my paint was so thick, I just squirted my piece down with a little bit of water as I was brushing over it. I love to use this technique to get that old vintagey look without having to go back and sanding off some of the paint. I'm going to use one of the IOD paint inlays. This one is the Petite Fleur Pink, but they also have the Petite Fleur in the color red. Now, these paint inlays are super easy to use. I remember being so nervous the first time that I ever used one, and I hear so many people say that they're afraid to try them. But don't be afraid to try anything. These turn out beautiful every time, I promise you. What you do is you just go through, cut out the pieces that you want, and then I'm going to show you how to place them on here. The paint inlays are actually paint, and you're just like reactivating that paint. You can do it in different ways. I'm going to use my big top sealer, but you can also do it in paint. Now you go ahead and paint your project whatever color you want it. I did the Bavarian color, and then you're either going to use one more coat of the color Bavarian, or like I did here, use the big top sealer. Now, I put way too much sealer. You don't need that much. But you don't want a super thin coat either, because you want it to be wet so that it will reactivate that paint. I took half of that load of sealer that I used and put some of it down on the bottom so we can use it there too. Now what you're going to do is pick up the piece of inlay that you want to put down. You're going to spray it with a misting bottle, and you're just going to place it down where you want it to go. Then you just simply use your fingers, and I always start out from the middle and kind of work your way around the piece to make sure you've got a good connection, and then you just squirt it one more time on the top. That water is going to reactivate that paint and get it to adhere to your piece. You're going to leave it alone and let it dry there. Now, they say that when you're using a sealer like I did, you don't want to let it 100% dry. I'm just going to go through here and place down all the rest of my paint inlays. I'm going to do them the exact same way I did that first one. And I am so sorry if you guys can hear my pug snoring in the background because he's at my feet and he's loud. And while I've got a second here, I just want to welcome you and thank you so much for stopping by my channel and spending a little time to chat and craft with me today. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I would love for you to do so. We always have room for more, and we always just chat and craft and have a good old time together. And if you are enjoying this content so far, I would love it if you would hit the like button because that really helps me out on YouTube. Also, when you leave me a comment. If you don't really like leaving a comment, you can always just leave me a heart emoji. That'll help me out too. And I thank you guys so much for every like, every subscribe, and every heart emoji that you send me. And I love for my new subscribers to say hello in the comment section. Now, I am a very impatient crafter, and I don't let mine air dry. I always use my heat gun, and what I do is you just mist it again so it will be wet and easy to peel up, and I very slowly peel away the edges. I start off on one edge just to see if it's coming up yet. Now, this is literally right after I put this down, and then I dried it with my little heat gun, and I didn't feel like it was ready yet, so I placed it back down, and I squirted it again to get that paint reactivated. I kind of rubbed it back in with my finger, and then I'm going to take that heat gun right away and dry it again. Now, I get it when it's about 90% of the way dry because I did put it in the sealer. So when I get to that point where I feel like it's dry enough, I'm going to grab my little misting water bottle again. I'm going to mist it, and then I'm going to very slowly pull my piece up. Now, I'm not going for perfection here. I love the way these paint inlays look because they already look like they're distressed and like you've used a little bit of sandpaper on them. They're just gorgeous, and they come out beautiful every time. And see, there's really nothing to be afraid of. They're honestly one of the easiest things once you get used to how to do them. I'm going to take the other one here because it just kind of air dried. But when I pulled it down, the very end part didn't appear to have done enough yet. So I just laid it back down, and I'm going to move on to the other. You see, I just mist it and kind of pull it up. And I'm not really looking for perfection here. I want it to look rustic, and I want it to look like somebody has already sanded it. So I just went ahead and went with what I had there. Now, of course, that's all personal preference. The longer you leave it on there and let it get a good hold, the better it's going to do. And you can use these paint inlays up to 3 times, but just know that each time they get a little more like distressed looking, if you will, because there's less paint on there. But they say you can use them up to 3. I've even heard of people using them 4 times. I usually only use mine about 2 times each, and that's it. Then last minute, I decided to go ahead and put just a small something on the side here, just because I felt like it was kind of naked. So I did the same thing, added a little bit of the sealer, the big top sealer, and I placed my little piece down. I wet it with my mister. Then I flipped it over and did the exact same design on the opposite side. I only let the two pieces on the side dry maybe to a 50% consistency because I wanted them to look really rustic and like they had really been sanded and distressed. And I think this one turned out to be a gorgeous little plant stand.
She thinks I'm a little lazy. I think she's a little crazy. We like summer and we like spring, watching wrestling in the ring. She ain't shy, she speaks her mind, tough as nails and smooth as wine. We burn hot as kerosene, baby, we got our own thing. She ain't skinny and I ain't tall, and that don't bother us at all. I run naked through the yard, she flash it.
Hey there, and welcome to my channel. I'm Crafty Kathy, the owner and creator of Kit's Vintage Farmhouse in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I am so happy and thankful that you stopped in to craft and spend a little time with me today. I have for you 4 Dollar Tree wood DIYs. They're really simple and beautiful and quick. I think you're going to like them, so let's jump in. Our first DIY is more like a hack. I purchased this little wreath at the Dollar General. It was when it was 90% off, so I paid like 50 cents for this thing. And I don't like it the way it is. It's just so plain and drab, so I'm going to show you, if you come across something like this with a price you can't pass up, how to tweak it and make it your own. Now, I don't really necessarily like these little metal pieces that are on here, but I am going to save them and use them for something later. I just clipped them off with my cutters, and then I just used like a little stick-like thing to kind of push it down so there wouldn't be a sharp edge there. Now we have a totally clean canvas to start with. Hey, because summer's not over with yet, and I'm only going to need this wreath for a month or two. So I settled on using some lamb's ear, and this is the one from Walmart. It's my favorite of all the different lamb's ears. I'm just going to place a piece going this way, and then I'm going to place one down at the bottom in that same direction where it looks like a C or like an alligator chomping. I love to make my wreaths where I put my florals on the side. I don't know why, but that's kind of like my thing, so I just go with it. I like them that way. And if you don't like yours that way, you can always come up with a different way that this would look good, but I figured it would be really easy since this piece went across the middle, and we're going to have to figure out where to put our florals to kind of, you know, jazz it up a little. So I just used some hot glue, and you know, hot glue's not going to last in this heat wave that we're having. So if you want this to hang like outside or something, you're definitely going to have to use like an E6000 or that fix-all glue from Dollar Tree, something of that nature. Something that's going to be really good and give you a good long hold. So I just grabbed this one rogue flower. I have no idea where this thing came from. I believe that it came from some of my flowers from Amazon. I get like different types of peonies, and I believe that this came from one of those bouquets. I cut the back down as low as I could get it, and I'm just going to place this right in the middle. I don't want to put too much flowers here because I was afraid that it was going to cover up, you know, where it said Home Sweet Home. I didn't feel like that part that says home was bright enough, and so what I decided to do was take my really fine Sharpie pen, and I'm just going to kind of go around it. I'm going to keep the center part white, but I'm just outlining it with black. That way it would kind of pop a little bit more. And I cut this off because my head was right in the way. I had to get right over top of it to see what I was doing, because I'm the kind of person that can even be tracing something and mess it up. So I just kind of took my time and went slow. I want to take just a minute to welcome each and every one of y'all to my channel. I'm so glad that you're here to chat and craft and have a good time with me today. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I would love for you to consider subscribing and hit that little red button. and become a part of our family. We always have room for more, and we would love to have you. Now, I got these butterflies, and they have a little magnet on the back of them from Amazon. They're in my Amazon store if you want some. And since this is metal, it's going to stick right on the side. I told you these were quick and easy, and I hope you like this one. I sure love it.
We wake, hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. Oh, the good times just begun. We know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right.
DIY number 2 is simple, quick, and very beautiful. I'm going to grab 4 of these picture frames, and these are some of my favorite picture frames that the Dollar Tree has. We're going to pop the backs off of each one and put 4 of your favorite pictures in there and then put it all back together again. We're going to turn this into either a little lantern or you can put your florals in there. So if you want to, you can leave the glass out and you don't have to put any of the backing on. That way the light can still shine through that. But whichever way you choose, it's going to be beautiful. I'm going to grab my wood glue, and I've been using this kind from the Dollar Tree, and I really like it. It dries quick, it's not real thick and goopy, and it honestly doesn't take much. What we're going to do is put glue down the sides. We're going to put all of our pieces together. Just be mindful how you're putting this together. Now, what I was talking about a second ago, if you want to make this be a lantern and you use a flameless candle in there, it would be really pretty if you don't put in any of the backing on. So the light is going to kind of come through your picture a little bit. But it's totally up to you the way that you want to arrange yours. I decided to leave the backs on these because if at some point I want to use these as just a regular old picture frame, I can do that and still stand them up the way that I need to. Now I'm going to put some Waverly wax on this. And guys, I was being lazy as I'll get out. I didn't want to take that whole little piece off of the bottom. So what I did was just unscrew one of the screws and kind of maneuver it around. I put my Waverly antique wax on the baby wipe and just kind of rubbed it around on each of them. And it was perfect that way. Like I said, there's days when I don't feel like taking everything apart. That way, all I got to do is just put one screw back on whenever I'm done on each of the little frames on the bottom. But I love that detail on these frames. I think that it makes these like a whole step above any of the other frames that the Dollar Tree has. I know they're small, but they're perfect. And you're showing off your family with your decor. So for me, that's kind of like a win-win in my book. In case you're wondering why my Waverly antique wax is just a little bit lighter, it's because I put a lot of water in here. There's probably about 25% of the actual product in there, and the other 75% is water. And if I ever want mine just a shade darker, I go ahead and just put another coat on. And I think I already told you a second ago, I did leave the backs on these frames. That way I can use them as frames if I want to later. But honestly, I don't think I could pry these things apart. Now we're going to put some feet on here. There's so many options. When it's Christmas time, I get a whole bunch of these little wooden pieces from Dollar Tree. I love the ones that are the little angels, or you can use this little wood peg doll, it's called, or the little snowman, of course. I am going to use the ones that are little angels. I just popped their wings off, and then I went over them real quick with my Waverly antique wax. What I'm going to do is flip my piece upside down, and mind you, I'm just going to use hot glue to put the legs on. If you want a good, strong, permanent hold, go ahead and use that wood glue. But I do think that these lanterns or floral pieces, whatever you want to use them for, They do look better when they have little feet on them, but there's so many things you can use for feet. If you don't have these, just use like a wood bead or something. Anything to level it up and bring it up a little bit. I just think it looks better in my opinion. I am going to put a bottom in mine because I am going to have a flameless candle, and since we elevated it with those feet, the candle would be sitting on the ground and looking crazy. So I just cut 4 popsicle sticks down, and I'm going to glue these to the bottom. That way I'll have something to set my candle on. And since nobody can see the bottom of this, I didn't stain mine with the Waverly Antique Wax, but if you want to do that, you can go right ahead. It would look more cohesive. I hope you like this one. I found these at the Dollar Tree last week, and I love these. If you see these, grab them. You see how they build these on the back. So you could actually make your own by putting like a wood dowel at the bottom there and a tumbling tower block. But why would you do that if you could go ahead and find one? You know what I'm saying? It's so much easier. I don't honestly think that anybody needs my Wi-Fi password, so I just painted this with a good coat of my DIY paint in the color beadboard. It's just a great kind of off-white color. It's not a stark white, I guess you could say. And then I'm just going to take my Dixie Belle gel stain, and it's called Tobacco Road. Now this is a dark gel stain, and I'm going to go over that bottom part, and I didn't do anything to the beads except for just kind of lift them up and go around that little bottom portion there. I'm going to use this decoupage paper, and this is so beautiful. I'm not kidding you. I have had this for years, and I can't believe I've never used it, but now is the time. Today is the day. I just kind of laid it down and figured out where I wanted it on here. And all I'm going to do is take my regular old glue stick, the kind that's purple, and it is not a permanent hold, and that's why I'm using that one. That way, if I ever want to change this up, I can peel it right off there and change it up. But did y'all know that they do have a permanent glue stick? The one that I use is the Elmer's brand, and I get it from Amazon. It's in my Amazon store, linked in there if you want some. I think they're like $3.87 for 4 of them. They're the little small sticks. But anyways, like I said, we're just going to use this one in case I ever want to change it up. Now, when you're putting your glue stick on, you don't have to cover every little piece of it. But do make sure that you get the edges good so that you've got a good hold all the way around. And you see, I just grabbed my finger sander, and I'm going to go around this and get all the edges off. At the bottom, since it had that little thing with the beads, I kind of had to cut it off and then go. As long as you kind of sand away from your body, it's going to be fine. It's going to come off there perfectly. And if there's little areas that's hard to get, like around these beads, I just use like one of these little nail files from the Dollar Tree. Could you imagine all the different little types of decor that you could make with one of these? These would look beautiful like at a wedding, like saying table number 1 or 2. I don't know why, but that just came to my mind to let somebody know that would be pretty. I get these little birds off of Amazon. There's like 6 of them in a pack. And they also sell little birds like these at the Dollar General for just $1 a piece, and they're actually bigger than these. Now, these are like ceramic, but the ones from the Dollar General are resin, so they're actually a little bit more hardier. They're blue and red, but hey, you can always paint those if you don't like the color. But I'm just going to simply glue him down on there with my glue gun so that he doesn't have to be on there permanently. And I thought if you want to stick some flowers down on the other side, that would be beautiful too. But this is just a really quick and easy little piece of decor that you can make in minutes. And it's so beautiful.
She thinks I'm a little lazy. I think she's a little crazy. We like summer and we like spring, watching wrestling in the ring. She ain't shy, she speaks her mind, tough as nails and smooth as wine. We burn hot as kerosene, baby, we got our own thing. She ain't skinny and I ain't tall, and that don't bother us at all. I run naked through the yard, she flash every police car, drinking wine and getting tired and shooting out.
I love these plaques from Dollar Tree. I think that they're amazing to craft with. You can do so many things with these. I'm going to use this seed catalog. It's from IOD, and you guys know that every time I tell y'all that if you want any of the DIY paint or the IOD, and they just came out with a new collection, by the way, that I'll be showing off soon. But you get that from my friend Lori over at Milton's Daughter. I'll leave her information down below so that she's really easy to find. If you've never done a transfer before, they're so easy. You just cut out the piece that you want or what will fit in this case. Now, this is going to be decor for Loretta's house, my chicken. You guys know that I've got her house decorated, or I'm still working on it. It's a work in progress. I am going to show you guys, but I want to get it finished first. But if you've never done a transfer before, you just lay it down, and they send this little tool with every transfer that you buy, and you just rub it. I like to kind of hold the edge of mine up when I'm going across it, and it just makes it so much easier. Now, I'm just going to tell y'all right now that my chicken's going to love this whenever I put this on her wall, because she's going to think that this is a little girl looking at her, and she's going to sit and like peck at it and like make faces at it, and I just know she's smiling because she's the sweetest chicken ever. But guys, look how simple and easy this is. If you have a little bit hanging off the bottom, I just push mine up and it kind of goes off the side and makes it look like it's 3D. Now, this is a personal preference on these little things from Dollar Tree. I like to go ahead and run the lines through, and so I just use like my scissors and I go around on the top and the bottom of each of these little like crevices here. And there's still a small bit of like the debris left in each of the crevices. So I just take kind of a stiff little paintbrush and brush them out of there. Now, I don't know about you guys or how y'all's chickens act, but mine loves vintage decor and she is going to be amazed at this. But I can't just leave it at that. I'll have to have something where I can hang up different things in her coop. And so what I'm going to do is just take these little cup holders. These are simple little cup holders. I'm pretty sure you can get them at Dollar Tree. And if you don't have a drill, just go back and forth like I did with my hand, kind of back and forth. Make like a slight little divot, and then you just literally screw them in. That way I can hang up her clothes on here. And yes, my chicken has clothes. She has clothes. She has leashes. She has all kinds of stuff. Guys, she's my baby. I love that girl. But I'm just going to put a little hook, one on each side of this, so that I can hang up like her favorite outfits, or who knows, I might hang up her high heels on here. You know that she's sexier than socks on a rooster. I had to throw that in there. You guys get such a kick out of when I say that. But you know what? I guess, honestly, here in the South, we're the only people that think that socks on a rooster are sexy. I hope you like this one. Guys, if y'all stuck with me through today's video, I just want to thank you so much for stopping and giving me your time and coming and chatting and crafting with me today. I'm so happy that every single one of y'all are here. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please hit that little red subscribe button and become a part of our family. We would love to have you. Also, if you did enjoy this, I would love it if you'd give me a thumbs up. It really helps out my channel here. And leave me a comment, even if it's just like a heart emoji. All those things help out my channel tremendously, and I can't thank you enough for that. Now don't forget that my videos are every Monday and Thursday, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and I'll be seeing you here on the next one, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. Did you know that if you're on an iPhone or a tablet that you can just touch my face right here and subscribe to my channel? You sure can. You can also touch either of these videos that are shown here, and as soon as this one's finished in just a second, it'll take you straight to that one. I love you guys. God bless you and your families.